Camera number 125 of 365, and it's the Nikkormat FT2. It's a fully manual camera. It does have through the lens metering, which is powered by a single 1.5 LR44 battery. Unfortunately, the light meter on this camera doesn't work, but if it did, that's where we would put our battery. And while we're on the base, we have a tripod mount and then the release of the film advance that allows us to advance our film back into the camera, into the film canister. Sorry, a bit brain dead there. Looking at the top plate, we have our film rewind crank, and then a light meter is also included on the top here. You can see it's a match needle meter, and that's exactly the same as we see through the viewfinder here, a match needle, and the idea is that we get it to zero by either changing our aperture or our shutter speeds, and we then have correct exposure. Looking on the right hand side here, our film advance, and you'll notice a red dot that indicates that the meter is active, and if we push it in, it turns the meter off. Our shutter actuation button, let's just do a couple of shutter actuations. There we go. And then our film counter, and then our preview button, which closes down the aperture. And you'll notice there's no film speed dial on the top here. Well, that's because it's around the collar of the lens. So to take the lens off, we have to first of all make sure that it's set to f5.6, and then by pressing the button here we can rotate and pull the lens off. So we have a prong and what's often known as the bunny rabbit ears, and that helps to calibrate the lens's aperture. So I mentioned the excuse me, sorry, the shutter speeds. The shutter speeds go from 1000, and there's this dial here, which is operated in that way, and they go down to bulb, so 1000 to bulb. At the same dial, on the tip, there's a little plastic tip, and by pulling it out, we can then also change our film speeds. So by pulling it out, that frees up that window, which we then choose our film speeds. So to put a lens on, actually just before we put a lens on, there's also a mirror lockup feature and self-timer. Let's just do the self-timer. Notice the mirror flips out of the way during the duration of the self-timer and then comes back down. So with our lens set at 5.6, we can make sure it goes into the prong there, and then we rotate the lens once and then rotate it back, and then we can see that our lens is calibrated. There's a little pin here. This is a Nikkormat 1.8, so it's just beyond 1.2 but before 2.8, so that confirms that our lens is now calibrated for the camera and the meter particularly. To open the film chamber, we just pull out the little clip here, and then that opens up, and that allows us to put our film into the camera. So that has been camera number 125, sorry, getting ahead of myself, 125 of 365, the Nikkormat FT2.